Bullshit.
What's the one thing a business owner should not do when reopening? It's the No Bullshit Marketing Show. I'm Dave Mastovich, CEO and founder of Massolutions, the world's only no bullshit marketing firm. Well, what is the one thing a business owner should not do when reopening? You shouldn't think that you've communicated enough when you probably haven't. If you think telling a particular target audience something once, twice, 3 times through one, maybe 2 channels or mediums has told your story and got the message out there, then you've made a mistake. What you need to do during this reopening is take each of those key target audiences that you have. Some are clear for any type of company, business to business, business to consumer, large, medium, small, regardless of location. And those target audiences that are across all industries and types of companies, number one target audience is employees, because employees are all going through different emotions and anxieties. Some are excited to come back. They're bored. Others are ready to come back, but a little reluctant. Others are completely uncomfortable with coming back. Some are concerned that they're going to lose their job. Some are sad that friends and teammates and peers have lost their job. They need to be told your story about how you're keeping them safe, about where the business is today, truthfully, where you hope it to get to within 6 months to a year, and how you're going to get there with some level of specificity, maybe 3 to 5 broad actions that you're going to take. When you want to tell that to employees, you need to tell it to them repetitively through multiple channels. By channel, I mean a team meeting is one opportunity, a whole all-employee meeting. Another is weekly staff meetings for various departments. Another is through video that's kept on your intranet or sent to employees. Another is possibly through audio. You could leverage email. But you have to use multiple channels and tell that story multiple times. Talking about it 3 times during week 1 is good, but I'd rather you talk about it 6 to 10 times in 3 or 4 channels in week 1, and then even more times and more channels in week 2, and so on. And you adjust and adapt by saying what is going on and what has happened. So when you have these 3 main ways that you're going to get things back to where they were and beyond, you have these 3 key ideas of how you're going to do that, which each has an action plan under it. You then provide updates on that, but you have it to the point where you've told this story so many times that everyone internally actually knows all 3 points, and you could just say, what are the 3 main points that we're going to try to accomplish? How are we going to get there? What's the progress been? Because you've told the story again and again and again. I used to joke that if people are sick of hearing your story, that means it's working. Because that one person that's sick of hearing the story heard it a few more times and picked it up. But there's someone else who's heard it a few less times. There's someone else who's only heard it 3 times. And someone else is hearing it for the first time. So that type of storytelling just for employees. But then you have to look at another target audience, prospective employees. They have to be told the story in a manner that makes you different from someone else that they're trying to get a job with. You also have centers of influence or referral sources. Centers of influence or referral sources are people who tell your story for you. They tell others about you, and they help get leads for you. They're going through a lot just like you are. So you have to make it easy for them to get back to telling your story for you. So you have to have your story specifically for the centers of influence / referral sources. Then you got current customers. They're your lifeblood of what's keeping you where you are right now, and you want to continue to maintain that. So you have to tell them the truthful story. Here's what we're doing. Here's how we've change things. Here's how we've innovated to give you more. Here's the way that we can show you that you need us. Because during the COVID-19 situation, they have sometimes stopped using you, sometimes changed how they used you or communicated with you. You need to make sure that the story is told of why they need to come back and why they need to continue and why they need to do more to achieve their goals, do more with you. And then prospects. It's really difficult to do selling when you can't get that face-to-face to try to close the deal. But the person you're talking to is doing the same thing. They're selling someone else, and they're having to do it in a different manner. So tell your story of how you have changed the sales process and how you understand it makes things difficult and how you want to talk through that on Zoom, and you want to find a way to make sure that we can close this deal so we don't pause and hesitate and become indecisive, because that doesn't do anyone any good. So if you were to ask me what's the one thing a business owner should not do when reopening, it is think that they've communicated enough when they probably haven't. You'll need to communicate multiple stories, multiple times, through multiple channels. And if you think someone's getting sick of hearing it, that means it's got through to them. So you keep telling it, and you adapt it to those main points of how you're going to get back to where you were and beyond, and have 3 main points, at the most 5, of how you're going to get back to financial prosperity, how you're going to get back to hitting sales goals, how you're going to get back to being operationally strong. And then as you adjust each week, you're telling that story again and again, saying, here's what we've learned in the last week. So you're being transparent, you're being open, you're being positive, but you're being truthful. And you're doing it in staff meetings. You're doing it in random walk-bys when you're in the hall. You're doing it when you are at lunch with someone. You're doing it with video. And if you can't get back to being at lunch with someone, I realize social distancing and all. But I'm saying if you're talking to someone in any way, shape, or form in the workplace, if you are using video, if you're using audio, you're telling that story again and again, so that you can get the word out about how things are progressing and how you're improving. That's the one thing I would say you do when you reopen, is clearly define each of those target markets and build a plan to over-communicate to each one. Hopefully this helps you. Storytelling and the power of storytelling for leaders is huge anytime, but even more as we're working through the reopening phase of COVID-19. Thanks for listening to another episode of the No Bullshit Marketing Show. Remember, ask yourself, what's the big idea? And build your story around the answer. It's all about bold solutions, no BS.